like you're running things that don't exactly work super well together. And I can see that hurting you guys' team play. You need to set a goal basically of what you're trying to accomplish with your composition, and then pick heroes that accomplish that.
Okay.
Like if you had a tracer with your Reaper, I'm not saying that 6 is a bad Genji, 6 is definitely a good Genji, but if you'd had a tracer with your Reaper, then your team could have focused the other team's tanks really effectively because you would have had a lot more damage output. And that would allow you to basically eliminate their front line and would give your DPS way more room to work with to move into their back line very consistently. Or if you had swapped the Reaper out for a Tracer, then your whole team comp could have been based around, hey, let's get onto their squishy heroes in the back line, let's be really aggressive, go really far forward. And also part of that depends on picking healers and knowing what you want to do with that. You can build a team comp for every map based on like the meta pick for that map. For Oasis, it would be Lucio. You want a Lucio so that you can get to point faster, so that you can get good positioning ahead of the other team. Generally true for all King of the Hill maps, which means that for your for the rest of your team comp, it's kind of open there. So your next choice would be like, well, let's see, we're looking at Oasis, we're going to want a Winston, right? We're going to want a Winston to be able to get up and down from the high ground. So you need something to support the Winston. The obvious choice from there is Diva. So you have Winston and Diva, they're both going to be going deep, they're going to be getting really far forward. So you want DPS that can also go deep and get really far forward. Pharah can hit from really far away because she has no fall off damage. Tracer can get really far forward. Genji can get really far forward. You know, those are all heroes that can play very far forward with those tanks. And then from there, you can choose your healers. You're like, all right, we've got Tracer and Genji. We can run probably either Ana or Zen, because those have really good consistent heals from far away. Or we can run Moira to be in there with them. It's going to be a problem when they go up to high ground, but as long as they're playing on low ground, they should be fine, getting good healing, all that jazz. You run the Pharah, then you can run a Mercy, because the Pharah gives Mercy a safe place to be, and then the tanks can jump up and get healing from her. All that different stuff. So there's different things to take into account with your team comp building. Is you wanna plan, because your plan is going to dictate the heroes that you pick. Your plan for Oasis might be, let's control the high ground so you get dive tanks, so you get dive DPS, you know, so on and so forth. Or maybe your plan is, we're going to control the point really well. You still need something to contest high ground, so you might still grab a Winston or a Diva, or maybe both still, but the Reaper could be a really good option for controlling that point, which means that you guys have to play around that point and play kind of defensively to draw them in close and then push into them, specifically into their tanks first, because that's how you control a point, is you have more health on the point than the other team. Mm-hmm. So having a set plan before you go into it is a good way to build your team comp, and to also build your communication ahead of game. Right, like if you know that your plan is, hey, we want to control the point, so we want to kill their tanks, we want to have a really strong presence there, then your team automatically knows, play around a point, focus the tanks, you know, squishies come second, and they're able to do that a lot more easily than having to calm that in the middle of a game.
Yeah. From what I can tell, we've actually started thinking about what we want to accomplish, especially on maps we've been going over a lot, and it's been working really well.
That's good. Having a plan always makes everything easier. specifically on comms, but also on just the execution as well.